For that, if you all will please again, get yourselves ready for yet another storyteller with yet another beautiful story. Please join me in welcoming the wonderful Miss Pansay Tayo.
Madre, yeah, mama, mommy, we give thanks. There's a holy thread of power that runs through the veins and divine vessels of women as they are creating, caring, and ushering their babies through realms, earthside. We honor that pregnancy and birth are in fact spiritual transitions of motherhood. Early on in my career, I experienced one of the most sacred transformational journeys with a beautiful client. When I first met her, I welcomed her into my sacred space, the Red Room. The aromas of Palo Santo, frankincense, and myrrh and rose surrounded us. Soft vibrations of flute sounds and natural elements relaxed her spirit. She shared with me that she was grieving the loss of her mother and did not know how she was going to make it through this pregnancy with such a heavy heart. In addition, her last two boys, her kings, were close to 10 pounds. And her intuition was telling her that this baby would be larger. She desired a natural birth, but knew that the doctors would push for a C-section and unnecessary intervention. I guided her through a release ritual to relieve any unresolved trauma and to ensure that her mind, her heart, and her body was free and open. In the weeks to come, her dreams of her mom became more vivid. I spiritually cleansed her home and guided her in creating her pregnancy sacred space. We added pictures of her mother, fresh flowers, pictures of her grandmother, and the ancestral matriarchs in her family line. I recommended that she spend a minimum of once a day at this altar, praying in meditation for peace, strength, and divine provision. Around 37 weeks of her pregnancy, I gathered the women in her family and her closest friends for a sacred circle womb blessing ceremony. The women empowered her with their very own sacred birth stories. They poured wisdom and love into her on that beautiful day. The elders prepared the blessed waters, and one by one, they would kneel down in front of her, washing her feet with fresh rose petals and lavender, all while speaking life to her spirit. We circled her and laid hands on her womb, praying for strength, good health, and may the way be open. In the weeks to come, while we were waiting patiently for baby's arrival, Mom and Dad continued their studies. We practiced breathing the baby down, and I guided Dad on how to apply counter pressure as Mom was going through her surges. We also studied all the many choices in childbirth and how to advocate for her wishes in the medical setting. With excitement, a few weeks later, her body started to show us that baby girl was making her way earthside soon. Mom and Dad arrived at the hospital, and I followed not too long after. Upon entering the room, the bright lights and sterile smell agitated me. Mom and Dad were embraced, swaying and breathing her surges down. They informed me that the doctors were not happy with her plan of birth and had already mentioned a C-section. I immediately began to cleanse the room, wiping down the furniture, the bed rails, and the door with frankincense and sage, praying and calling in her ancestors to camp themselves in each corner of the room, keeping a watchful eye. I immediately went into preparing her altar and the windowsill with the sacred red fabrics, adding the pictures of her mother and her grandmothers and their special belongings. Placed her affirmations and hung soft lights. Mom and Dad continued to sway and breathe through each surge. She moaned and breathed. I sat quietly watching, praying, and holding space. The doctors would peek their heads in, observing baby's vitals. Observing mom's vitals, baby's heart rate, and watching the clock. Her surges intensified, sending her breaths down to baby. But mom stood strong and firm with the doctors that her no was a complete sentence. She breathed and pushed. She breathed and pushed, sending the breaths down. The waves wrapped around her waist and down her legs. Mom cried out to the ancestors for strength. Dad held her close and kissed her forehead. More and more you can see a blank stare on her face. She was in fact dangling between realms to collect the spirit of her baby. With each push, I laid hands on her back for strength. With each push, I laid hands on her hips for ease. With each push, we whispered to her that it's not pain, it's power. With each push, we reminded her that your surges aren't bigger than you because they are you. With each push, they held her and encouraged her. We see her head. She's here. She's here. Mom cried out, thank you, with joy. Baby girl was placed on mom's chest. We could all see that she was happy. The doctors cheered and they clapped. Oh, we gave thanks to the ancestors for safe arrival. Baby girl was eventually weighed, and she was in fact 12 pounds of perfection. The doctors were in disbelief. They clapped and they cheered. And oh, we give thanks. This experience proved that when you mother the divine mother, when you nurture and nourish the spirit, the mind, the heart, and the body of the divine woman, that her body will in fact do exactly what the Creator has designed us to do. Iyame! We thank you.